Going to take a quick break and talk about Drizzly. Drizzly is fantastic. It's the most convenient way to buy beer, wine, and spirits with delivery to your doorstep. And get this, under 60 minutes. It's insane.
Yeah, I think what's also great is you can compare prices and shop different places and get your best deal.
And you're shopping and you're doing a lot of cooking during the holiday season and you're all busy and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I need that bottle of wine.
Wrapping presents and you don't want to have to take time to run to the store.
Or you forget a gift.
Yeah.
And you need it delivered real quickly. Here's the way to do it. You download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. And Drizzly is giving every new customer $5 off their first order. What's that promo code, Seaton?
FAST5 at checkout.
FAST5 at checkout. It's drizzly.com.
More than 1 in 3 people will face cancer in their lifetime. Unfortunately, fear can stop you from getting your cancer screening, but it won't stop cancer. Early detection can save your life. Don't wait for symptoms to appear to act. Cancer screening is safe, effective, and accessible for everyone, including free or low-cost screening programs. Go to cancerscreeninfo.com right now for free screening resources and recommendations from the American Cancer Society. Don't wait. Early detection can save your life. Go to cancerscreeninfo.com today. Cancerscreeninfo.com.
Impact of Influence, the tragic story of a powerful South Carolina family and the mysterious deaths that they are linked to. Thank you for joining us. Do not forget to subscribe, share, rate, follow, comment, all that stuff as you listen to the podcast. And today, and on this episode, we're going to talk with former DA and legal analyst John Snyder, known for a while, about some of the questions which, when you get into the Murdaugh cases, the various cases, the boating accident, even the homicide, and some of the things that have happened in the past and their rise to power, etc., when you read people talk about it on social media or on Reddit or something, or amongst each other in the stores, there's a lot of people just guessing, well, that was handled wrong or that was handled differently, but you don't know because we just assume certain things about what happens after an accident, etc. So we brought in someone who knows, and that is John. Hello, John.
Hey, man, how are you?
We're doing well. Seaton's here, of course. And I'm going to start with the first thing I want to start with is, because we often have talked about the Murdaugh family and their power in this podcast. And one of the things that we keep saying, and I had to even try to find out myself, is they were solicitors from like 85 years or something. But not every place has a solicitor. What is a solicitor?
So a solicitor is the fancy word for district attorney.
Okay.
And so in Virginia and South Carolina, instead of being called district attorneys, they're called solicitors, and that's an old English phrase that's kind of hung around the original 13 colonies.
Well, my other question was, when I read that, it says sometimes that they would, I guess, volunteer in that office. That seems weird to me. Is that something that happens places?
It's atypical in the current in North Carolina, and it's still atypical across the country. But South Carolina still allows for there to be private prosecutors. And it would be, it's in some ways, it's not a bad idea at all, because you can have somebody that takes some cases and works those very well, but
sure.
Isn't so like bought into the system that they lose perspective. The other side is it creates just a very tangled web inside a small county's courthouse where everybody's related somehow by, either cases they've worked on together or even family members who might have been the star witness in a case get hired on the side by the law firm to do an investigation. And so it just creates this horribly muddied water for somebody to navigate on who's on the side of right.
Okay. Seaton, now you want to go down some of the questions we had as far as, we should go to the boating accident. We're going to go there first? Seaton?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we have some questions about how it was handled. I know you've read as much as you could or we could and find. And even these questions, again, John is only as a legal analyst. He wasn't at the scene, so he can kind of answer these questions to the best of his ability. So, Seaton, what did you want to know?
Well, one question is, are you allowed to refuse a breathalyzer? I don't know if it was offered, but that was just a general question I had.
Yeah, so South Carolina has its own set of standards for boating under the influence. And it's because you can't do like roadside sobriety tests, they have a set protocol of tests that they'll put somebody through. And that includes, holding the light in front of somebody's eyes, the horizontal gaze. Okay. They do the finger to nose test. They also have a couple of things that are unique. That's the palm pat test, where you flip your palm over and you have to do that in a certain succession. And then they do this thing where they make you like basically walk your fist on one side or the other. And then that helps them establish probable cause to ask you to blow. And so there is the ability to do that. That is a standard part of a boating under the influence case, but you can refuse that. And so I wouldn't take the lack of one being as evidence of not being done properly.
So in an incident where there's obviously a lot going on, or people have got to get to the hospital and that sort of thing, and there's a missing girl in the water, is it possible that they would just say, let's get these people to the hospital, we'll figure it out there?
Yes, that's very possible. And they could have been in shock or unconscious from the accident. They couldn't have done one.
What happens if they are unsure who the driver was? Because there seems to be some controversy about, some reports say they knew who the driver was, and other reports said it was unclear which of the boaters was driving. What happens in that case?
Well, again, it's very difficult to charge somebody for, you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt who the driver was. And so in this situation, you have 6 people in a boat. One passes away, so they're not eligible to be a witness. And the other 5 have to know and be willing to say who it was. And so some of this latest news about the sled investigation might be related to the conversations that happened after the accident while law enforcement was trying to gather evidence.
Okay.
Between the people that were on the boat.
And if somebody on the boat says he was driving and the guy who is being pointed to says I wasn't driving, they would fill out on the report they weren't sure or whatever. What was the wording they used on the thing? Unclear. That would be enough to say unclear, correct?
That would be enough to say unclear. And this is one of those, you can't presume the conspiracy based on the evidence that they're gathering at the site. And so law enforcement's job is really not to have any emotion about what happened, but literally they're there to gather, catalog, and report what they've seen and what they understand to have occurred. And it may be, it's kind of like an auto accident. Well, he says they stopped short, and she says, he ran into the back of my car. And the officer's like, I can't really tell. And so we're unsure who caused the accident.
Some people were saying, well, why did he say that? Other people said that he was driving, but as long as the driver was not saying he was driving, then they could write in
That's
unclear.
Exactly it.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then when they go to the hospital, the grandfather and the father?
The grandfather and the father are both attorneys, and they are there at the hospital, and they prevent the police from letting any of them talk to the boaters or take any sort of blood test for intoxication.
And what you might say prevent, a lawyer's going to say, we asserted our constitutional right, and we were there to protect the kids from being unduly prosecuted.
Right, or getting some sort of admission out of them when they're in this dazed state.
There's a great book written by a law professor of mine, James Duane, called You Have the Right to Remain Silent. And so asserting that right is always a good thing until you've had a conversation, till you've had an opportunity to talk with a lawyer about what could happen based on what you may say.
Gotcha. So the idea that the people who wanted to go down the conspiracy path were like, I can't believe blah, 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 blah. If you're, as an attorney, if it were your kids, you'd probably step in and do the same thing, I would imagine.
I would say to your kids, my kids,
Yeah.
we're not hiding anything, but talk to a lawyer before you talk to law enforcement.
Especially they've been through a lot. I mean, they were, their heads were not exactly in the right place necessarily to give statements.
That's right. Now, again, everybody wants that for their own family, but doesn't understand it when other people assert it. Well, why didn't you talk to the police? Do you have something to hide? It's like, no. But sometimes things can get misconstrued.
Yeah.
And it puts us in an awkward spot.
It happens all the time in the true crime documentaries and things I watch where somebody doesn't sleep or something and then they say something and, we're misconstrued.
The other questions were not really about the boating under the influence.
Let's go.
One question about this. One was the arraignment process. People were very upset because of the optics that when Paul was arraigned, which was several months after the accident, he was not in an orange jumpsuit and he wasn't fingerprinted and booked to the jail. He got to do all that from the courthouse. So people were very upset about that, but we just kind of wanted to maybe ask you if you would think that would be something that was actually kind of normal given the high profile, or that he wasn't arrested right then, so there was some time.
That to me is just a good lawyer doing his job. If Matt got charged with something crazy, I would want to make sure we had a back door into the courthouse and that we were able to leave by a back door. Because, again, you're innocent until proven guilty. And so when they do the perp walk and all that stuff, it creates an impression, whether it's reasonable or not, in the seer's mind. And so as much as I can prevent a client from going through that and having either pictures or just the psychology that goes with the orange jumpsuit. Mm-hmm. I think that's just good. That's good lawyering. Everybody should get that kind of lawyer. Is what
and that was probably decided by his attorneys, not by the law enforcement, perhaps. So that's important.
Correct.
All right, take a break for a moment. Talk about a new concept in glasses, sunglasses, contact lenses, and eye exams. I'm talking about Warby Parker. I've been using them even before they signed on with us. Love the free home try-on program. It's awesome.
Yes, this is the first time I've tried Warby Parker, and you get to order 5 pairs of glasses, try them for free for 5 days, and there's no obligation to buy. They ship for free, including a prepaid return shipping label. Yes, and I took the quiz, and I found out I needed wide. They have everything from extra narrow to extra wide.
Yes, and the quiz helps you, and the selection, amazing. When I show people the Warby Parker app that allows you to do a virtual try-on, they are blown away. And remember, don't let your FSA and HSA dollars go to waste. Put them to good use in Warby Parker prescription glasses, prescription sunglasses, contact lenses, and eye exams.
Glasses start at $95, including prescription lenses.
Warby Parker is committed to providing exceptional vision care online and in stores. Try 5 pair of glasses at home for free at warbyparker.com/Murdaugh. That's warbyparker.com/Murdaugh, Murdaugh.
Hello, this is Discover, and we take customer service very seriously. We know that if you have a question or concern about your credit card, that's a serious matter, and you need to talk to a real person about it. So we offer around-the-clock access to seriously talented representatives in the USA. Again, it's a serious endeavor. The only funny thing about it is Bob. If you call us and Bob answers, you're in for a treat. Get 100% US-based customer service and talk to a real person day or night. Discover. Exceptionally common sense.
The timeline on from the boat accident to the indictment, some were saying, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Does that strike you as odd at all?
No, I would say because of the high profile nature of the defendant and their relationships, I think you would want to run down every single lead before you just popped off a charge.
So that's I kind of thought that would be the case. And how about the fact that it was April, he was indicted, and in February was the accident, and then released on bail, and the bond allowed him to move throughout the state. He went back to USC.
Well, not originally. They had to file for him to have that. So their lawyers filed something that allowed him to travel throughout the state to go to school and also to meet with his lawyers who were based in Columbia.
Again, only indicted, not found guilty. So is that anything jump out at you? Is like, that wouldn't happen for a normal person?
No, I think that would happen to any. You got. I mean, honestly, it just keeps coming down to the strength of his legal team more than anything. If you've got a college student who messes up one weekend in Charleston from eating too many chicken wings and cheap beer, and he goes to school in Columbia, it would make sense to allow him to return to Columbia to stay in school as long as he was actively in school. Terms and conditions to go with that bond modification. So that would be normal.
Because the pitch from the defense attorney or his dad or whoever would be that he's not a threat, is what their big thing would be, right? That he's not a threat to run, he's not a threat to injure others.
He's not a threat. And analyzing it from a civil standpoint, I want him to be a productive member of society in the event that there's a financial judgment entered against him. I want him to be able to pay the judgment.
That's actually really interesting, and there's questions onto why, because in the civil suit, he was not named. His older brother was named because he had lent his ID to him, and his dad was named as the owner of the boat. But Paul was actually never named in the civil suit, so I'm assuming that there's got to be some reason why he wasn't named.
There'll be two reasons for that. One is it's a slam dunk case against the liquor store, against the brother for letting his ID be used for underage kids to buy alcohol, and the father who owns the boat. So all of those people have insurance policies already.
Excellent
insight.
Insight.
There's pockets on there. In this case, in the boat case on the civil side, South Carolina has a thing called comparative negligence. And so in North Carolina, we have strict negligence, which means if you are 1% at fault for an accident, you are barred from recovery completely.
Huh.
In South Carolina, they have a comparative negligence scale. So, drunk boating accident, you're drunk, you've been drinking underage, you've done bad things that put you on that boat, that's going to be on a sliding scale of liability. And so that may be the strategy that they're going to wait for a criminal conviction or a criminal result before they were to name
Paul.
Name the defendant at the time.
The driver of the alleged driver of the boat. That is huge. Man, you are on this, man. I knew you would be. People were saying, and I heard somebody else doing a podcast, and they're like, this doesn't make sense. If somebody else was arrested, they would have had an ankle thing. They would have had a blow into their car to get it started. They wouldn't have been able to boat. Is that all just wild conjecture? And
that's has nothing to do with actual South Carolina law. Boating's a lower standard because it's an inherently more dangerous thing than an automobile, but it's also much lower fatality rate. So that's just how the laws are.
So yeah, it's not. It wouldn't be weird that he doesn't have to blow into something to start his car or start his boat or whatever.
Not at all. Especially when he's there's an issue over whether he was the actual driver.
He was indicted on it as being the driver, but still in the police report it did say there was question.
There's been a lot of controversy about the current solicitor recusing himself because of the ties he has with the Murdaugh family on the homicide case. I didn't know if people are calling for him to recuse himself, but no one has actually been charged yet. So I didn't know if that was a normal thing or...
That's the conundrum of public service in a small town. And on something like that, I'm usually going to give a benefit of the doubt of if this person is called and qualified to be a public servant as a prosecutor, he is going to be able to put aside his emotion or connection to somebody and do the right thing. That's my personal opinion, but I also understand you want to be above reproach in the conducting of justice so that nobody can attack what you do. And we just, as a society, have kind of moved into let's always attack the motives of the people who we disagree with.
He did recuse himself for the boating accident. He did recuse himself for that.
Okay.
From the homicide thing, well, how involved would the prosecutor be in the actual investigation? I assume that the SLED or whoever's doing the investigation on the homicides, is the prosecutor's not necessarily hands-on as they're investigating, or are they?
Typically, the prosecutor should be aware of how the case is being conducted. It's like I used to go to murder scenes. And so, the reason wasn't because I was a great investigator. It's you just want to make sure that the process is being followed so that you can get the conviction when it gets to the courthouse.
I was wondering if you could even recuse yourself if there's no charges have happened. Right now, as a prosecutor, you're just making sure the investigators are doing everything by the book.
Correct.
Gotcha.
The whole idea of criminal prosecution is accountability, one, on the people that they follow the law, and then two, on law enforcement, that they follow the process to bring about a just result. And so we talk about almost every case in America that's on the news right now, is that the prosecutor is actually a guardian of civil rights in some regards to make sure that law enforcement's done what they need to do if they're going to charge somebody with a crime and kind of ruin their life.
John, you're awesome. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
We will talk soon, my friend.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Bye-bye.
Hello, this is Discover, and we take customer service very seriously. We know that if you have a question or concern about your credit card, that's a serious matter, and you need to talk to a real person about it. So we offer around-the-clock access to seriously talented representatives in the USA. Again, it's a serious endeavor. The only funny thing about it is Bob. If you call us and Bob answers, you're in for a treat. Get 100% US-based customer service and talk to a real person day or night. Discover. Exceptionally common sense.
Now is the best time to start working at Amazon. They are offering sign-on bonuses up to $3,000 and hourly pay up to $22 per hour. You'll bring home a great weekly paycheck, and many jobs come with benefits that start on your first day. That's higher pay, sign-on bonuses, benefits day one. And you'll be part of a safe and inclusive workplace ranked among the best in the world. Go to amazon.com/apply to start your job search today. Amazon is proud to be an equal opportunity employer.